Hey, YouTubers. So, well, actually, most of you are probably coming from my group anyways. Welcome, Trying to Conceive Naturally Facebook group and using LDN to conceive and prevent miscarriage group, and anybody else that wants to watch. This is not going to be a highly professional, big scientific word kind of video. I'm doing this just to get the information out there, and then honestly, it's been a while, so I need to update some of my research and some of my reading. Then I will post a more scientific, this is why kind of a video. But right now, I just wanted to get this out there for people that are struggling with miscarriages, or if you are using or thinking of using LDN, but you're not sure. Or if you honestly don't even know what I'm talking about when I say LDN, then I'm just going to introduce you to what it is. So, and it wasn't the only thing that I used that was different, but it was the only thing that was used that was new the month that I did finally conceive. So I don't know how long you get on these videos, so I'm not going to ramble a whole lot. I can ramble later if you need more rambling. But really what happened was I got married later in life. I did have my first child at 33 with a different father. And I was 33, so I was anticipating, having a hard time getting pregnant because I'd never been pregnant. And I stopped my birth control, and I think that was like in September or October or something like that. And I went and bought myself an ovulation kit, and I kept taking it, and it was like not positive and not positive. And it was, like I had the second line, but it was like really light. So I was like, oh, I'm not even ovulating, I'm not even doing this right. So I made an appointment. I was going to go in and find out why I wasn't ovulating, Well, it turned out I was already pregnant. So the very first month that I stopped taking my birth control, I got pregnant. Now, I was obviously very surprised by that, quite honestly. And through the next 5-6 years, I honestly, I was single, and I was worried about trying again because I was getting older. And so I had my son, and I kind of just had made peace with the fact that I probably wasn't going to have another child. Having a child out of wedlock for me was a disaster. We fought all the time. He took me to court to try to get custody. It was a mess. We were enemies for 7 to 8 years. We're just now starting to get along and be friends and forgive and raise our son together, co-parenting. I'm going way off topic, but the point is, I was worried. And inside, I was worried. And when I got married at 38, I immediately got off birth control, like 2 or 3 months before we got married, thinking that it would take a long time just because of my age. We did end up conceiving. We got married in October. We ended up conceiving in December, and then we miscarried. And then we got pregnant again in February, and then we miscarried again. And then over the course of 4 years, I conceived 9 times, and 9 times I miscarried. Sometimes I made it to my actual period and was, 5 or 6 weeks in. Sometimes I only got a positive on a pregnancy test a day or two, and then I started bleeding. Or then, it was time for my period, and I got my period. So, really, I was really stressed because I believed in my heart that I was meant to have a daughter, and I wasn't willing or able to give up. Like every time I had a miscarriage, it made me fight that much harder. I did egg quality supplements, which I probably should go over those too, but I'll do that in a different video. I did systemic enzymes because I did have a partially blocked right tube. I did stuff for my hormones. I got all my hormone testing done. In fact, I spent $3,000 on fertility testing that basically came up inconclusive. And the answers were, well, you're probably old. You're probably too old. Your eggs are old. That is the biggest sack of crap. Your eggs health does decline as you age, but you can fix it. You do not have to settle for you have poor eggs and you have to have IVF with someone else's eggs. That's not, some people, I'm sure it does have to happen, but I was told that not by one doctor, not by two doctors, but by 4 doctors. And I was not willing to give up. I couldn't. I just couldn't. And so I kept researching and I kept reading, and I probably read 10 or 15 different books on fertility, cover to cover. And I found miscarriage books that I didn't even know existed, and read the research. And I read, you know, the studies that came out about fertility drugs. And, you know, I read the studies themselves. And I mean, I'm a financial analyst, so that's, you know, my nature is analyst. And I wasn't going to give up until I analyzed the crap out of it. And so I want everyone to benefit from my research, because my research was long and exhaustive. And there were times that I was wanting to give up, because it is a horrible roller coaster to be on every month. I got to the point by the, I don't know, 4th or 5th miscarriage, I didn't even cry anymore when I had miscarriage, because it was so like, oh, this is happening again. So in 2017, I conceived, and I had not conceived for a couple of months, and I was getting upset. And I ended up conceiving, and then I had a skin disease. It's called hidradenitis suppurativa. It's not technically an autoimmune disease. It's technically an anti-inflammatory disease. But as I was researching, well, this happened afterwards, obviously, but what I ended up doing was I had a huge boil. It was like a mass of boils under my armpits. That's what the disease is. It's basically an overreaction to bacteria on the skin that shouldn't, they're on everybody. They shouldn't be bothering you. But when you have this condition, your skin flips the heck out. And everywhere that you have a hair follicle and the bacteria, you get you get these huge painful boils. I puked, I passed out. They were awful. So for me, I felt that besides the fact that I was in my 40s, besides the fact that my hormone levels were a little off, I also felt that this disease played a role. And the reason that I felt that this disease played a role is because when you have an autoimmune condition, or you have an inflammatory condition, or even if you don't have them, but you just are stressed out all the time, your body creates inflammation. Inflammation creates killer cells. Killer cells sounds really bad, but all it is they're in the uterus, and they basically say, whoa, I'm freaking out. There's something in my body that's not mine. I'm going to get rid of it. And that's what they do. They miscarry the babies. And this is a very simplistic explanation, but basically, if you have an autoimmune condition, or if you have a lot of pain, if you have something like hidradenitis, that's really just an inflammatory condition, your body is focusing on making not sex hormones that you need to get pregnant. Sorry, my dogs are acting like ding-dongs. But actual, stress hormones or inflammatory cells, these killer cells. So the other piece of it is you can't just take an anti-inflammatory or a steroid and expect to get pregnant. There are people that I'm sure that happens for, but it wasn't happening for me. I was trying the steroids. My fertility clinic was trying everything she could think of. But the reality is I wasn't having a hard time getting pregnant. I was having a hard time keeping them. And so I did a bunch of research, and I found a doctor, and I should have at least looked up his stinking name before I did my video. But I was trying to hurry because my kids are up laying down. But at any rate, he has been doing this research for a long time, and he's been testing this product in women, and it's called LDN. That stands for low dose naltrexone. And the reason that low dose naltrexone is so fabulous is because you're not actually pumping yourself with some random drug that's going to make you keep a baby. What you are doing is you are giving yourself a little tiny bit of naltrexone. Regular naltrexone is 50 to 100 milligrams, and you're doing like 2 milligrams or 4 milligrams. And the reason that this product or this works is because they found in the research that they did that, okay, so naltrexone is a drug to help pregnant women get off of opioids, okay? I mean, that's one way that it's used, rather. So they found that when they did a lower dosage, they didn't do the full dosage, that there was the opposite effect on the dopamine in the brain. So basically, by taking this lower dosage, I'm going to have to kill one of my dogs, obviously. By taking this lower dosage, stop. By taking this lower, and I'm sorry, I'm in my pajamas, who cares? By taking this lower dosage, though, it forces the body, or makes the body, create endorphins. Now, this is the whole premise of it. What do endorphins do in our bodies? Freaking everything. When you exercise, you feel better. Your depression lifts. Your body is able to make the correct hormones, the correct thyroid. It does a myriad of things when you have endorphins in your body that don't happen when you don't. Now, that's why we're always told to exercise, which I'm not going to exercise, I'll be honest with you right now. But the point is that when you find something that creates those endorphins in your body's going to heal itself. And that's what LDN does. LDN is this little tiny, dosage that really just gets your body to do what it's supposed to be doing in the first place. And if we were out, doing all manual labor and we were all exercising every day, maybe we wouldn't have the fertility problems that we have. I don't know. But I will tell you that I had done all this research. I didn't know how to get a hold of the LDN because it's not FDA approved yet. You can't just walk into the store and buy LDN. You can't even just walk into your doctor's office and say, give me a prescription for LDN right now. I'm going to go to Walgreens. You can't do that. It's not there. There are ways you can do like the full dose naltrexone and like split it up in water. And I don't do that either. But what I did find out was that it is being prescribed a lot by fertility clinics, homeopathic doctors, and pain doctors, and also some autoimmune doctors. And the reason is because it is in FDA approval. LDN is getting FDA approval for treatment of fibromyalgia and treatment of Crohn's disease, which are kind of sort of related to my skin condition, hidradenitis. So I went ahead and started trying to figure out who would give me the prescription for the LDN so I could have it compounded, because that's what you have to do. So I just happened to bring it up to my pain doctor. Now, my pain doctor is very forward thinking. She's very smart. And I said to her, I was kind of thinking about trying LDN. And she looked at me and she's like, oh, I've been prescribing LDN for a little over a year. My patients are doing fabulous on it. I have extreme pain. So I was like, let's try it. Knowing in the back of my mind, I'm getting this for fertility because that's what I care more about. But there was also a, pain factor and autoimmune factor. So, it was like a no-brainer for me. So in May of 2018, she gave me a prescription for LDN. I took it down to the pharmacy. I met with the pharmacist himself to figure out my dosage. And between my kind of autoimmune condition, the fact that I did have endomyosis, or it's endo, but it's like around the uterus, not in the uterus. It's not a huge factor itself in infertility, but because it's there and it functions as an autoimmune, it makes the killer cells also in the uterus. So that could be, who knows, that could have been the problem. I don't know. But the point is that when I went down and talked to him, because I had those 3 compounding things, we went with the 4.5 milligrams. And that's the highest dose of low-dose naltrexone that you can take. So I started at that. My pain was a little bit better. I'm not going to say it was gone, because it wasn't. But it was a lot better because the inflammation, once the endorphins kicked in, my inflammation went down and then my pain level went down. I was able to, I started taking it in May. In 2 weeks after I started taking it, I conceived and I carried to term completely. After not having a child for 10 years, I carried to term. I delivered her when I was 42. Now, there are factors of egg quality. There are factors of some hormones and some fertility medications that I did, and some natural supplements. And I will do another video about those if anyone cares. But the main reason I have the child upstairs that I have, who is the greatest thing, the greatest gift I've ever gotten, is it's the LDN. And in the studies that they did, when women stopped the LDN, some of them still miscarried. So you stay on it for the pregnancy. Is it harmful to your baby? No. No. The LDN babies in the study had higher APGAR scores and were healthier babies. My baby was born at 38.3 because I had her induced because I wanted to do a VBAC, which I did not end up doing because I did not dilate. But I was on LDN my entire pregnancy, and her APGAR score was like an 8, and she was born, she still had fluid in her lungs because she was a C-section baby, and she was early. So, you know, that's a good score for, I mean, she obviously wasn't premature, super premature, but, you know, she wasn't quite ready to come out yet. I probably should have let her stay there another week, but I was antsy. So, anyways, point being made that LDN is safe for pregnant women because they take full dose naltrexone to stop taking opioids. So there's no reason LDN would not be safe in pregnancy, especially at the low dose. The thing is that the FDA has not approved it for fertility. Does that matter to me? Hell no. Does that matter to you? It shouldn't. It really shouldn't. Because when you're at the point where nothing else is working and you can spend $50 a month on something that people are paying $50,000 for IVF for, it shouldn't be, because there's nothing harmful about it. There is no side effects. It's not enough of a dosage to really even give you side effects. And I've had people say, you know, oh, I think it made this, or I think it made me do that. Maybe, but I seriously doubt it. My pharmacist specifically said it's not a high enough dose to get side effects from. The side effect that you get is you get endorphins, which makes you feel better, which makes you happy. So I could almost say it's joy. That's the way I describe it. I'm not currently on LDN only because it is expensive. I'm not trying to conceive anymore. And one of the things that happens when you take naltrexone is you block your pain receptors a little bit. So if you do need to take medicine for chronic pain and the LDN in and of itself is not enough, like for me, you will block any other painkillers. And I need some painkillers. I don't take heavy narcotics, but I do need to take, you know, my muscle relaxers and things like that. And you will find if you're on LDN long term, you will knock out some of the inflammation and the pain, but sometimes your pain gets to a level that it's just too severe and you have to be able to use medications. And so the other part of that is before you deliver, you want to stop the LDN about a week before delivery just to make sure, because if you want an epidural, you don't want the LDN in your system. I have heard from a doctor that it doesn't matter, that it's not enough of a dosage to block the pain receptors to block an epidural. But I didn't want to take the chances because I wanted to make sure I could get pain management. Because labor's, you know, not super fun. What else did I want to say about LDN? So yeah, so I started in May, I conceived in June, I took it through my pregnancy. I had my original OB argued with me and looked at me like I was taking street drugs just because it's not FDA approved. It's going to get FDA approved for other things, and then you're going to be able to buy it. But in the meantime, you know, I did way more research than she did in fertility. I took her copies of the studies. I took her copies of the articles showing its safety, showing that the LDN babies were healthier and the moms were healthier. And she wouldn't even read it. She had it down on the desk and she put it down. She said she didn't have time for that. And so I did find an OB that was forward thinking and open-minded, and she took my research and she said, I don't need this because I already know about LDN and I already know it prevents miscarriages. So you will stay on it and I will prescribe it for you. And, she wasn't like pushing it to people that came in to her to have, because it's not FDA approved. And in the US, that's a big deal. But it's not that big of a deal. And if I didn't think it was safe, I wouldn't have tried it because I was putting no sugar, no poisons, no extra substances into my body except what I absolutely needed. And that's why I run the Trying to Conceive Naturally group, because most of what I used was Vitex, ashwagandha, things of that nature, egg quality supplements, vitamin E, the systemic enzymes, all that stuff is really healthy and really natural. And so I would not have touched LDN, except that I knew that the dosage is very low and your body is what's actually doing the healing, not the LDN. So you can get up and you can run a couple miles and get the same effect, or you can pop a little capsule and voila. And then the other benefit to this is my hidradenitis was able to be put into remission with LDN. So, it's probably not going to stay gone forever because I have the disease. But since having the baby, I have not had any boils. And when you have a skin condition that hurts so bad that you are puking and you are passing out and you do not want to be part of life anymore, if that's going to be your life, having this LDN not only give me a baby, but giving my life back was huge. I do not believe that one product works for everyone. I do not believe that LDN is going to work for you if you have other underlying medical conditions that have not been found out. You don't know what they are. No one knows what they are. If you do not do egg quality supplements and you are 42 years old, like I am, you probably need them. So, in addition to LDN. So it's not going to work for every single person. But the girl that showed it to me, that told me about it for fertility, the doctor that did the research, all the women that were in the studies that have babies after miscarriage, after miscarriage, after miscarriage, it literally, there's more data out there right now than what anyone realizes. It is not scary. It is not a street drug. All it is having your body do what it's meant to do by creating the sex hormones that you need, calming the inflammation and the killer cells by giving your body endorphins. That's all it is. It's just straightening crap out for you. And especially when you're stressed and you're overwhelmed, and the more that it takes, the longer it takes to conceive, the more stressed you get. The more stressed you get, you've got a bunch of cortisol and no estrogen or progesterone. So, anyways, that's a short version. I guess it was 23 minutes. I guess that's not really short, but I wanted to get the information out there of what I did, how I did it. You can purchase LDN online. There are LDN trusts where you can find doctors that specifically just prescribe LDN. There are pharmacies that, of course, they make other things, compounding pharmacies, but they are dedicated to making LDN. So you can safely buy it online. My doctor was not comfortable with that because she wanted to make sure that I wasn't getting a foreign substance, that we didn't know what it was. She wanted me to have it compounded locally. So I did do that. It was a little more expensive that way, but I had my baby in my belly. And so my number one priority was making sure that she was safe and healthy and not getting chemicals that she shouldn't have. So it was fine. I will post, if I ever get a chance to get back into my research. It was in my phone that got restored without being saved. So I don't have my research anymore, I don't think, unless it's in my Verizon cloud. But I had saved screenshots of the big research that I did that really explains how LDN does what it does. But the main thing is it gives you endorphins. Anything that gives you endorphins is going to heal your body. It's a no-brainer to try because there's little to no risk. It's not that expensive. And after 4 doctors tell you need IVF with they didn't say I needed donor eggs. I shouldn't say that. I was able to keep my AMH high. After 3 years, my AMH had hardly dropped at all. So they said I could use my own eggs up to the age of 45 because my eggs, I mean, I really did a lot for my eggs. The first thing you should be doing is not drinking from plastic bottles that are in the sun because BPA is an egg killer. Stop doing that now. Now I do it because I don't need my eggs anymore because I'm done. But if you are doing that, that is one thing to definitely stop doing. So the plastic water bottles go in the sun. It leaches chemicals into the water bottles. You drink the water. That BPA is horrible, horrible for your eggs. I will make another video on egg quality and the supplements I took specifically for egg quality. And probably I used what's called the DREAM protocol. It's essentially a mini IVF, basically. Without the IVF, you do it naturally, but you use some of the same medications. And basically, I got to the point where I wanted to release multiple eggs because I kept miscarrying, and I figured if the more eggs I have, the more chance I have of having a healthy one. So I was purposely hyperovulating, not to the dangerous level, but ovulation was definitely painful. But apparently, the month that I conceived my daughter, she said I did have a cyst from the femora or whatever, but it didn't look to her like I had ovulated multiple eggs. So, you know, all it does take is one good one. And I got my good one, and she's fabulous, and she's the best gift ever. So if you have the dream of having a baby, there are ways, and there are ways to find out how to do it, even if you don't have money for IVF. So don't give up on your dreams. I'm so glad I didn't on mine, because we literally had just signed up to be foster parents when I conceived. So thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, you can post below. My groups are called Trying to Conceive Naturally on Facebook. It's just Trying to Conceive Naturally, and Using LDN to Conceive and Prevent Miscarriage. It's such a long name. I don't know why I did that. Like, I really don't know why I did that. But I wanted to get the point across that not only do endorphins help you conceive when you haven't been conceiving, they also help you prevent miscarriage. So if you have any comments or questions, put them below, but I will try to make some more specific videos in the future. Thank you for watching. Bye.